Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Black Americans are coming back home, but nobody is talking about this. What if I told you Black Americans are leaving the US and coming back home to Africa? This might sound shocking, but more Black Americans are returning home than ever before. Many say they are tired of racism, police tension, and feeling like outsiders in a country their ancestors helped build. So the question is this a trend or the beginning of something bigger? I have gathered some clips together for you guys to watch. If this is your first time here, I am glad you have found this channel. Don't forget to like and click the notification bell. As always, credit goes to the original creator of the video clips used in this episode. And for disclaimer purposes, these videos are for educational commentaries and are not meant to hate or discriminate anyone.
Thousands of white South Africans abroad, including those in the United States, are returning home. Reuters news agency reports that at least 12,000 foreign-based white South Africans have checked the status of their citizenship in preparation of making a permanent return to the African nation. This is in response to the South African government's November 2025 decision to overturn a law introduced in 1995, stripping some South Africans of their citizenship after leaving the country. While US President Donald Trump alleged in early 2025 that white South Africans were being unfairly targeted through what he described as discriminative laws relating to land ownership and labor service, many of them hold a contrary opinion and have decided to return home. For instance, in 2022 alone, though Trump was not in office at the time, official records show that 15,000 white South Africans returned to the country that year. After Pretoria overturned the 1995 law on citizenship laws, at least 1,000 people reclaimed their South African nationality and formally asked to return home. While President Trump offered a refugee deal for white South Africans seeking relocation to the U.S., records show that 3,500 have taken up the offer, a figure negated by the thousands of South Africans heading the opposite direction. A South African relocation and employment agency told Reuters that in the last 6 months, it had received a 70% surge in inquiries from white South Africans seeking to return home. Another agency reported a 30% increase since 2024, indicating the increased interest in settling in South Africa. Some of the interviewed returnees said their reasons for returning to South Africa included the need to be close to family, lower cost of living, escalating political tensions abroad, especially in the United States, ability to work remotely, improved availability of electricity in South Africa, and the sentimental attachment to one's country of birth. Many of those who left South Africa in the previous years are Afrikaners, the descendants of Dutch nationals who settled in the country many years ago. Trump said that this group of South Africans was particularly being targeted by unfair laws, an allegation that South Africa, through President Cyril Ramaphosa, strongly denied. Records show that whites constitute about 7% of South Africa's 63 million people, but they occupy approximately 70% of the country's farmland. While the unemployment rate among black South Africans stands at 35%, it is 8% among the whites there. The national average is slightly over 31%.
Breaking news, thousands of white South African expats, they have started returning back home. This is according to Reuters. Mind you, some of these people, they denounce their own country. They denounce South Africa. And they stated that they don't want to be involved with South Africa or even be South African. So these people, they moved to Europe, they went to USA, and they became the citizen of USA or even Europe. But later on, more than 1,000 white South Africans, they reinstated their citizenship. They want to be South African again. This is a move of what is called reverse migration. So some of these people, they are moving from USA all the way to South Africa. So some of these experts, they were asked, like, why would you leave USA, the country that everyone want to go to, and go back to South Africa and even reinstate your citizenship and become a South African again? Why would you want to do that? Some of these people, they said going to USA is not what they were expecting. There is a lot of crime. So children, they cannot just play outside without supervision. And also everything is very expensive and there is no good quality of life. But in South Africa, it's opposite. They're saying that their children, they are able to go and pray outside, and it's even better than USA.
This is like Christmas.
Naomi Sapphire was born in South Africa and lived for 2 decades in the United States. She came back home for a holiday and realized how much she missed this place.
You cannot dictate what makes your heart happy. So you leave and then you come back because ultimately this is home.
Last year, Sapphire left North Carolina for a seaside town in South Africa's Western Cape. Now, she says her 3 children spend more time outdoors, health insurance is affordable, and she prefers the schools. She's among thousands of white South Africans coming back from abroad, despite U.S. President Donald Trump's statements that South Africa's white minority is being persecuted by the country's black majority government.
Terrible things are happening in South Africa.
The Trump administration is ramping up its new refugee program for white South Africans, focusing on Afrikaners, the descendants of Dutch settlers, such as Sapphire and her family. About 3,500 South Africans have entered the United States as refugees since the program started in May 2025. Pretoria says there is no evidence of discrimination or persecution against whites. Many white South Africans and Afrikaners have welcomed Trump's support, but insisted they nevertheless want to remain in their country. And others who left decades ago are now returning. Anton van Heerden is an employment agent who has been trying to help returnees keep their jobs abroad by shifting to remote work. He said inquiries from white South Africans seeking to return had jumped 70% in the past 6 months.
We have also asked these people why they're coming back, and we got a lot of different reasons. The obvious ones would be whether family, friends, the vibe in South Africa, but also things like costs of living and living standards are considered to be very high in South Africa.
For Naomi and her husband, Danny, they're happy with their choice.
Some of the metrics that we use to decide like whether or not this is our permanent place is education, cost of living, how much we're enjoying the place. And so far, that's ticking all the boxes.
These policies continue to put pressure on African nations. Many African Americans are making a different choice.
A growing number of African Americans say they are considering leaving the United States and relocating to...
While US politicians tighten their grip on Africa, while Washington pushes policies meant to shape the continent's future, something unexpected is happening in silence. Thousands of African Americans are quietly doing the opposite. They're not dreaming of the US anymore. They're not chasing the so-called American dream. Instead, they are packing their bags, selling their homes, and boarding one-way flights to Africa. Not for vacation, not for a short escape, but to start over, permanently. It's a movement nobody predicted, a reversal nobody prepared for, and yet it's growing faster than anything the world has seen in decades. Why would people leave one of the richest nations on Earth to return to a continent the West still labels as poor, unstable, and underdeveloped? Why now? Why Africa? Stay with us, because the answer will challenge everything you thought you knew about the American dream and Africa's future. To understand why thousands of African Americans are now returning to Africa, you must go back to where the story began, not in airports or embassies, but 400 years ago on the shores of West Africa. It was 1619, the year the first enslaved Africans were torn from their homeland, ripped from their families, and shipped across the Atlantic. What followed became the largest forced migration of a single race in human history. Millions stolen, millions lost, millions who never saw home again. For centuries, their descendants would grow up in a land that promised freedom yet delivered discrimination. A place where slavery ended on paper, but its shadow never disappeared. Laws changed, but the system didn't. Rights were granted, but equality remained out of reach. And for generations, African Americans were taught one message: Africa is behind you. America is ahead of you. Africa was painted as primitive, dangerous, hopeless. a place to escape from, not return to. But then came 2019, Ghana's year of return, a spark, a reminder, a door quietly opening after 4 centuries, and when that door opened, something began to shift. Because what happened next was not migration. It was a spiritual awakening, a reversal no one saw coming, a reversal that would explode into a movement after one event that shook the entire world, and that's where our story turns. But before we continue, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more powerful stories. For many African Americans, the decision to leave the United States didn't begin with passports or paperwork. It began with silence, the kind of silence that lives inside you when every day feels like walking on a battlefield. Sanjaya Davis knew that silence too well. On paper, she had everything America promised: a good job, education, connections, stability. She was living the picture-perfect version of the American dream. But inside, she carried a fear she couldn't shake. Every time she stepped out of her house, a question stalked her like a shadow. If I'm pulled over today, will I make it home alive? It wasn't paranoia, it was history, embedded in her DNA. The trauma of centuries, from the transatlantic slave trade, to the Tulsa massacre that displaced her own family, to the everyday racism she faced in modern America. Then came 2020, a knee on a neck, a life taken in broad day.
Black Americans are leaving the US and moving to Kenya, Africa, saying home is calling. Western powers didn't see this coming. A growing number of Black Americans are leaving the United States and moving to Kenya. They say they want to reconnect with Africa, feel safe, and build a new life. People like Kenneth Harris, a retired veteran, sold everything and bought a one-way ticket to Nairobi. Now he runs an Airbnb and lives where he feels accepted. Others say life in the US is full of stress, racism, high costs, and no peace. In Africa, especially Kenya, housing, food, and community feel more affordable and warm. This reverse migration is gaining speed. Businesses are opening, people are buying homes, and many are returning with money, skills, and hope. Experts say this could lift African economies and change how the world sees it. The West is watching, some shocked, others trying to understand, because this move isn't just about geography, it's about identity, dignity, and reclaiming a lost connection. Today, Africa is not just a map on a wall. It's becoming home again.
So the real question now is, if Africa is home, why did it take so long to come back? Because for a long time, home wasn't a choice. Centuries ago, millions of Africans were taken from this continent through the transatlantic slave trade. They didn't live willingly, they were forced. For years, many didn't even know where home was. Some only started discovering their history through DNA tests, books, and stories. And now, for the first time in history, do you think Africa is truly home or something more complicated? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in my next video.